as they originally said they were going to fix Cipher Rush quite a long time ago. I do think that this time Netease will rework it. Oh Phoenix, if only you knew. It has been over 6 months since my last update to the Future of Identity 5 series that I do every 6 months or so. Where are we and where is the game going? A lot has happened in these 7 months. We've had a new Persona web trait and some really interesting characters added to the game, some of which have been meta-breaking. My first prediction back in the last episode was that Netease was going to release a rework to Spectator. They did it, and man, I was wrong. I said that it wasn't going to be worth investing your Persona points into, and now I'm singing the complete opposite tune, I would say. To be fair to past Phoenix, I did expect Netease to do the usual thing of reworking it to being something similar, and in my opinion, Spectator was essentially irredeemable. But I'm also glad that Netease realized that too. The original Persona web trait was too centered on a slower paced match, where people had time to go and heal each other up super often. That is just not how the game evolved. Flywheel came out swinging by essentially adding Dead by Daylight's recently reworked perk Dead Hard to the game of Identity 5. This perk took the competitive scene by storm and decimated the top hunter at the time, Breaking Wheel, dropping him into A tier. Flywheel has become such a strong tool for survivors that I see it in almost every match at least once, and survivors are really starting to get the hang of how to use it. Fwee, as I call it, Flywheel effect, is possibly my favorite ability for all survivors in the entire game, and it has so much utility, countering Breaking Wheel's spike explosion or his click ability, Naiad's water, and so much more. Check out the video above if you want to see some more of those tricks. My hope in the last video was that the rumored hunter, the Lady, would change up the meta. Well, the Lady was Clerk. She was a difficult hunter to judge when she originally came out. My predictions for her not being as strong as everyone thought she was going to turn out to be was was half true. But I think she's one of the most glass cannon hunters we have ever seen in S tier. She can, of course, dominate in a match in the late game if she has played well enough, or she can get completely bullied by a well-versed or connected team. Her real strength lies in the final 1 to 2 Cipher machines, and having hopefully eliminated at least 1 to 2 players by that time. Her ability consisting of slowing Cipher machine decoding down and eliminating survivors one by one by stopping that last Cipher machine from popping. Her issue is of course the early game, and she is also quite map dependent, leading her to fail miserably in the hands of the majority of players. I cannot deny though that she was an amazing addition to the game, and so was Hermit in my opinion. Netease has honestly been killing it with her appearance and the abilities of the hunters they've been creating recently, making them fun and unique. Hermit is of course no exception to this. I am honestly completely clueless as to where Hermit falls on the meta tier list, but what I do know is that against VC teams he is helpless and often gets bullied into submission by sometimes never getting anyone on a chair. I think he does well against solo queue survivors, and of course as the survivors start to learn how to play against him and players master his abilities, we will see where he falls on that list. The prediction that made me laugh out loud when I rewatched my old video was this one. I expect that the new rework for Spectator for the Persona web won't be worth investing your points into, since knee-jerk, broken windows, or tide turner will always be a preferable pick. Phoenix, why were you and why am I so naive at times? Netease hasn't and probably won't ever fix Cipher Rush. As I said in a recent video, since they announced that they thought that Cipher machines were going too quickly, all they have done, with the exception of Mechanic, is buff survivors' decoding speeds. Once again, to be fair to past Phoenix, he didn't have the information or the research that I have now. Where now I think I understand why Netease balances the game the way that they do. They have flawed data. Now you ask me, what do I predict from the future of this game? Netease has promised us adjustments to the strongest survivors and hunters coming at the end of the season, so I expect adjustments for Priestess, Forward, Antiquarian, Clerk, Naiad, and maybe even Dreamwitch once again. We know also that Perfumer is set to be buffed slightly soon, and Mechanic will also receive the same type of treatment. And I must say I am really terrified to find out what Netease is going to do. Netease doesn't have a good track record with making good survivors slightly better. Magician is a great example of this, where he instantly jumped up from being an okay survivor to one of the best picks you can choose in just one small adjustment that was giving him an extra wand. Netease, why did you think, and why do you still think that's a good idea? Am I the only one who feels like Netease has just been removing some of the drawbacks for each survivor? The risks that each survivor is supposed to have seems to be kind of melting away. Most survivors end up having no weaknesses at all anymore, and it feels sort of lazy. I really hope the perfumer doesn't get just another perfume, or the risk taken away from her using her perfumes in the first place. What could be warranted is a minor cooldown adjustment, or maybe an extension of her perfume window that would make her a little bit more viable maybe. In the near future, we have the big event Ashes of Memory that's soon to drop. The new Survivor Composer is probably going to come out next month, and it's exciting to think that Netease might drop a ton of new characters in the next 2 months or so, with a massive amount of lore and event stuff, of course. That is what I'm really hoping for, something similar to last year's big event. I predict that the new little girl adult version Survivor that is probably going to be a rescuer, as most people have predicted, I think that she might become as strong as Forward, maybe not as mercenary. Netease seems to be looking to add some more fresh blood into the meta lineup. And how about Composer? Well, Composer's viability is yet to be seen, but a fun decoder without any type of kiting ability would be a nice addition in my opinion. Knowing Netease though, he will probably have a decent kiting ability, as that has now become the norm. It's kind of sad. As I have mentioned in previous editions of this series, I expect that all future survivors will be released with some type of kiting ability, a stun or a button they can just press to give them some way of evading a hunter for at least a second or two. This is in stark contrast to how survivors were made before Prisoner's release. Power creep has become a real thing in Identity V. Oof. To Netease's credit though, I do see the game heading towards a more community-based game, as Netease has been taking in tons of smaller content creators to commentate for their tournaments. They are creating more competitions and contests to win real prizes in the game and outside of the game, both on their Twitter and in their new NGP server on Discord. There are also some things that are in the works that you guys just aren't aware of yet, and will involve content creators. I am under no non-disclosure agreement, that I know of at least, to hide any of this information from you, but I want to keep it a secret so that you guys can all be surprised. And hopefully they will continue to involve content creators more and more in future collaborations and projects. What I would like though from Netease themselves would be more transparency with the changes for the game, and reasons for why they are making these changes. That would make it even better. What I do expect sadly though is the continued decline of the game. Yes, some collaborations such as the Bungo Stray Dogs crossover that has recently been delayed will boost the numbers temporarily for the game, though the trend, at least for the English speaking market, is continuing to fall quite dramatically. I hope to see this game last another couple of years, at least in our server. I have already discussed how Netease balancing is flawed due to their stats being quite skewed. Why is that? Well, you should check out this video here to find out why this game feels so unbalanced.